Oh my goodness.
I think we're back.
I think we're back. We've been gone so long, and it's taken us so much technology to get this back that there is now a cure for COVID.
Yeah. Oprah has interviewed Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's third baby, and
we no longer care about it, and the world no longer care about any of it. Yes.
It's I'm gonna let you finish. Court and Amy, we're back. Part of the Pantheon podcast fam. Hey everybody, we've been gone for 2 weeks. Did you miss us?
Yeah. All right. So let's just kind of catch up on our not so hot back summer, I guess. Right. I mean, we last saw each other, spoke to everybody in, late August, so we haven't been gone that long. But just sort of any thoughts, anything fun, anything. I know you got to do your full mermaid the other day.
I finally went to the beach.
Yeah.
I finally went to the beach. And listen, the beach is my happy place. I didn't go to the beach all summer because, we've had a pretty wet, shitty summer. And then the days where it was really hot, I knew everybody was going to the beach.
Yeah, that's the problem in New York. It's like, It's finally good beach weather, and everyone has that same idea.
And then last summer, when it was COVID, really full on COVID, I didn't really go that far away from my house. I kind of didn't leave a 5-block radius of the house, if I could be honest.
And for anyone who's outside of New York, there is no beach in Harlem, so you know.
There's no beach in Harlem. So, listen, putting my feet in the sand. I was out for a friend's birthday, and
it's fun.
Having the ocean just hit your legs. It just fun. Felt really, 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 really.
Yeah, I got before I started my award tour, which we talked about, I did get to spend 2 days in Fire Island, which is, it's just, I don't swim there because I can't swim for shit. And Fire Island is like really scary water, but
yes, lots of current. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just nice to go, it's there.
Yep.
And look at it.
And you feel it, and it's just a calming energy.
No, it's nice. There's a reason why they play water when you get a massage. You know what I mean? They don't play wind blowing everywhere. All kind of lightness and everything aside, back to school season is upon us.
How are you feeling? Like, you're going to different schools, and you're in person now, right?
I'm in person at one. Well, I was in person last year at the high school, but I wasn't teaching. To be honest, I was sort of being an adult in the room. Right. This is going to be my first, and that was pre-Delta.
Right. Right.
I am going to be in person today. I always get a little bit of stage fright before I start. Even I know that's how, because
I get that.
I'm performing, and
it's new students. It's the first time you're all a meeting, and
but I am already, and it's not the time I would have liked to have done it. I would have liked an early morning class, less people. Right. But I will say I'm already very pleasantly. I'm very happy because the student just emailed me to tell me that she wasn't aware that you had to get COVID tested if you weren't fully vaxxed. So she's going to be taking the week off. And I said, I hope, and she was like, I hope this is okay. And I'm like, not only is it okay, but thank you for being
honest.
Honest. Like stay away as long as you need to. If you don't come back, we'll do it online. I don't care. Right. So, I'll get over it, but it's just sort of the good thing, I guess, is that everybody's in the same boat. Everybody's in the same kind of nervousness. And I am teaching college, and they do have to be vaccinated. So, knock on wood. Whether they'll learn anything or not is a whole nother conversation. But hey, learning is overrated anyway.
Who needs that old education?
Yeah, we're both intelligent. What has it gotten us? Nothing. It's gotten us absolutely nowhere being smart.
Hey, I was the queen of 7-Eleven for a whole year. I had a reign around Queens, and I used to ride around. I had a... No, I'm only kidding.
Wait, 7-Eleven? The Quickie Mart 7-Eleven?
Yes, I was the 7-Eleven queen, darling.
You worked at a 7-Eleven?
No, I never worked at a 7-Eleven.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
I just made that up.
Oh, okay. I worked at a Friendly's. Friendly?
Okay, when I used to work at Red Lobster in Green Acres Mall, shout out to Valley Stream, Long Island.
Oh my God, you decided to pick the one place that's like, yikes.
Well, I was on the opening team. I opened that Red Lobster.
In high school?
In high school, I was on the opening team. I opened that Red Lobster. So I worked there for a couple of years from high school. And there was a Friendly's in the mall. And because I don't eat seafood, so on my lunch break, I would go across the street to Green Acres Mall and go to the Friendly's. And every day I'd either get a cheeseburger deluxe or grilled cheese deluxe.
Did you get a fribble?
Milkshake.
Did you get a fribble?
No, I didn't get the fribble.
The fribble is good. Yeah. I worked at Friendly's for a very brief period of time in high school, and I was fired. First off, because I kept insisting on hiking my uniform up higher and higher and higher. And also, I could not learn all the flavors.
Right.
And the piece de resistance is my boyfriend and his best friend, who were druggies, came in and passed out on the counter and knocked over fribbles everywhere. So I was held responsible. I had to pay for their fribbles. And of course, that's the guy I lost. And of course, that's the guy I first had sex with because he was so cute.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
you were like, he's really deep. Look at him.
No, I didn't think he was deep. I just think he was cute. No, yeah. But I was like, he knocked fribbles all over the place. I was fired for my stupid loser drug addict boyfriend and his stupid loser drug addict friend knocking fribbles. Hey, Maddie and Doug, how you doing? All right. And scene. All right. So this, obviously people die all the time.
Yes.
But this week, we were kind of hit with a really interesting juxtaposition in my mind of well, first off, tremendous acting talent, but two actors who sort of changed literally the face of what's considered beauty and masculinity.
Yes.
And two actors who totally owned their respective lanes in movies. So the first person to die was the great French actor Jean-Paul Belmondo. If you've never seen the films of
Fellini,
Godard,
right? Oh, no, Godard?
Godard.
Yeah, no, Fellini's Italian. Fellini's Italian.
Right? But if you've never seen those movies, Breathless is probably the best known. Don't watch the remake. It's awful. Watch the original one.
Oh my God, I saw that remake. That was
awful.
Terrible.
Awful.
Terrible. You know what? We don't ever really remake the French ones well. You know, whenever we try to do an American version of a French film,
and vice versa.
It doesn't really work.
Yeah, but he was just an absolutely fantastic actor. Very much, a symbol of the French New Wave in cinema, and a very kind of ugly beauty. The French actually have a name for that, kind of the ugly beauty. And he was, a sex symbol and just a fantastic actor. And in any other week, what's so crazy is that the deaths would have been dominated by him in many ways, but he never made any American films. But unfortunately, that same day, Michael K. Williams passed away. And, best known for Omar and on The Wire. What was it? Obama said Omar was his favorite character on television. And what's really
many Lovecraft Country,
5-time Emmy nominated. Yeah.
He actually just won, I believe, one of the Critics Awards for Lovecraft Country a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, and he's nominated for an Emmy for that role this year.
Well, an amazing actor. Omar is
and a really nice guy.
That's what I've heard, and he was really, really good friends with with a good friend of mine. So I heard about him outside of the context of being a great actor. Like he hung out with his kids and a New Yorker. So maybe that's why it's impacting us more, because he was one of our guys but died young.
Circle, really, I have I've met him. I didn't know him, but I've met him.
Yeah. Great dancer.
Throughout the years, I would see him at like house music parties. And I have a lot of friends, who work in film and television who absolutely worked with him on The Wire and Lovecraft and a bunch of different other things. And they're really hurting, they loved him. The people who knew him really loved him. He was a really loved person.
And he's getting obituaries and memorials that I have to say are worth reading, because a lot of times Black actors do not get that kind of
I was surprised at I was about to say, I was surprised at the amount of coverage that he's gotten. I was like, wow, people really love this guy.
Yeah, I mean, go back and watch. I mean, The Wire is, I mean, to the point when my friend was like talking about, oh, you'll have to meet him one day, and I never met him. I kept calling him Omar, which is obviously not his name. But
listen, I've gotten rid of a lot of my DVD box sets, but I have the full series of The Wire that I still have.
No, it's so, you know, rest in peace to him. It's very sad, obviously, when anyone dies, when someone young dies. And like I was saying about Belmondo, I mean, Michael K. Williams, you know, was not a classically handsome man, though he was a good-looking man, and he changed the idea of what masculinity and what Black masculinity is. I don't know about the guy's personal life. I'm not going to speculate, but he presented a gay Black.
And he gave, for the first time, really, a different portrayal of a Black gay man. A lot of times, even today, listen, I was watching a sort of preview for Cinderella, right? And Billy Porter is playing the fairy godmother, and he does the thing that I feel like it's always done when it's a Black gay man. It's lots of neck, lots of arms and hands, and, you know, and that's a type, that's a thing, but that doesn't represent the whole spectrum of the gay community, right? And we're just never written in a way where you could be the killer, the feared person, oh, and you happen to be gay. You know what I mean? It's always, if there is a Black gay character written, it's like you need almost some of those tropes to be thrown in there.
You need to be swishy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's just the worst. And so here comes Omar, the guy that everybody's afraid of. And it was just written really, really
well. I read something really interesting because then we'll get up, but the writers on The Wire just were amazing guys. And one of the writers on The Wire is Richard Price, who's a fantastic one of my favorite novelists to begin with. And he said that he was the guy, he was often tasked with writing kind of Omar's entrances. Like, so, you know, Omar walking down the street, that was his dialogue. And he said that Michael K. Williams kind of established some of the signifiers for Omar being gay. I don't know if it was ever written that he was gay, but he would do things like touch his boyfriend. And it was like, wow, okay, this is an interesting thing that you're... Anyways, a great actor, Gianluca Belmondo, great actor. Watch their movies, watch their TV shows. Rest in peace to both of them. And one more that we need to mention is Lee Scratch Perry on the other end, a different discipline, music. You and I both.
He built his own studio, the Black Ark, in his yard in Jamaica. He really, you know, brought this new style of music, well, dub, and really took it to a whole other level and worked with all of these artists and made those sounds even bigger. And I think that really helped it go international and around the world, really, you know?
Well, and brought it, I mean, certainly, I mean, you and I have both agreed that the word icon is overused and means nothing if you keep using it. But all three men that we've talked about, like, broke boundaries, iconic. Lee Scratch Perry was a sonic architect of absolute. So again,
oh my God, we lost one more, Charlie Watts.
Oh yes, another icon.
Listen, there are bands,
and then there's the Rolling
Stones. Really, I think you said this when we were talking about him the other day. You know, it's like they've been in a lane of their own since they came out.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, and 50 plus years later, they are still in the lane of their own. There's the Rolling Stones and everybody else. And
the thing about the Rolling Stones, I mean, I saw them in 1978, so I don't even barely remember, to be honest with you. But the thing about, and yes, their album output has not been as dominant, but the Rolling Stones, from what I understand, are still capable of going out there and fucking blowing everybody off the stage. Yep. And Charlie Watts was the anchor for that song, and a lot of drummers normally work off the bass player because it's the rhythm section. What made Charlie Watts different is he had a jazz background, had no interest in rock music whatsoever. You know, was like, okay, sure, whatever.
That's where the rhythm came. You know, he was a rhythm drummer,
and he got his cues from Keith Richards, which is an interesting thing. A musician's musician, but you didn't have to know music to understand that. So, I mean, where do I start? Where do we start telling you what's Charlie Watts' song, what's own song? But he is just Yeah, phenomenal. So really 4 very, very important men.
Legendary. I know you guys all like to use these words and call everybody a legend and not. No, these dudes were all legendary.
Because no one's ever going to be able to duplicate what they did.
Exactly.
So you cannot use the word legendary when someone puts out one record. Okay.
No, let me just say, I heard, and listen, we both like Cardi B. I just heard somebody like the rap icon just had her second baby. I was like, rap icon?
No, she's put out one
album. I was like, why would you even, first of all, she doesn't want you to call her an icon yet. Don't put her, you took her, you skipped the whole middle and the other part of the career to taking the icon status. It's like, guys.
Well, this is why you can't have people over the age of 25 running the culture. But that's a whole nother conversation. They can be in the culture, but don't document it because you have no cultural perspective. All right. So, and scene. So speaking of cultural perspective, there's been a little kerfuffle about Jay-Z and Beyonce and this Tiffany's.
Okay, now let me just say this. I just thought, I thought this was some dumb shit with people hating on the internet, and I really didn't pay attention to it. What drew my attention the most was the $2 million in, scholarship and money going for historically Black colleges and universities. So I was like, great, people are going to bitch, whatever. Now, when I looked at it and I thought, Basquiat again, listen, you could have chosen, there's so many. First of all, at this point, everybody knows who Jean-Michel Basquiat is. They just do.
Yeah.
There's so many Black artists, and there's so many living Black artists who are creating works that are important that I felt like it could have been highlighted. There are Black female artists. I felt like there was somebody who could have been highlighted. It just seemed like going into the art box and picking it's like going to Google and trying to when your students try to plagiarize and they go to Google and they pick like the second story.
The first thing that jumps out. Yeah.
No, not even the first one. They go to the second one and think she won't look down too.
Yeah, she won't notice that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like all of the artists you could have picked from. So I thought it was just a fun little kerfuffle of people online until you posted that friend of the show, Al Diaz.
Yeah.
One Samo, like, come on, who was his partner. When I saw that he was upset and the people in that, that's what made me take notice and say, oh, these are real deal people. Now, these people saying something, I give that credence, because, everything online is always just like the mafia of people
bitching.
Well, the motherfuckers who knew him and worked with him and were friends with him being like, yeah, this is some bullshit, was like, that made me pay attention.
Well, the bullshit, basically this painting, the bullshit, to be honest, was not created by Jay-Z and Beyonce.
No, it's about
the bullshit was created.
No one's seen the painting.
The corporate, the guys who bought it, somebody Arnaud, and this has never been seen before. Okay, yes, it has, because people showed it.
Yeah.
He mixed that color blue as an homage to Tiffany. No, he did not.
It's like.
He so did that. I got to tell you something. I didn't know him, but I knew that world. I can guarantee nobody in that world was checking for fucking Tiffany's. Okay, if they were going to name check anything, it would be, the point is that they weren't doing that, and I just find it, without getting. I just find it to be, if you're going to highlight Black excellence in terms of the painting, this is such a cliche at this point.
First of all, let me just say this. The only reason why I knew what Tiffany's was in the 80s, real talk, is my mother's been wearing L.C. Peretti jewelry. Oh,
my mother had that too.
Since the 80s. So she's got gorgeous. So she's been wearing L.C. Peretti jewelry. Elsa Peretti jewelry since the 80s, right? So my father started gifting that to her, then gifting it to my sister. So that's why I know it. John, that downtown scene, no one was thinking about 57th and 5th Avenue. And he definitely was not going to be inspired by the Tiffany blue box. Right. And I just think, I don't think J and B, is their fault. But I'm like, to me, it was a little too obvious. If you're going to have this hair trying to look like Basquiat, and then you're sitting in front of a Basquiat, it's like, you guys know a lot about art. They both collect art. They are art collectors. You know about a lot of different Black artists. This was a big opportunity and moment for your About Love campaign to maybe highlight how about a living Black artist who's doing, because there's a lot who are doing really well and big in the art world.
Kerry James Marshall.
Yeah, highlight one of them in this ad. It's like, we all know who Basquiat is. Everybody knows how much those paintings sell for. It just was like, when I look at Tiffany, I'm like, okay, it was
just too easy.
Yes.
And it's also like, I mean, look, we all know that Jay-Z stands for Jay-Z. I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Come on. I mean, this is not big stuff.
Listen, and we live in a capitalistic society. I'm not mad at that, but I also say, I'm not mad at him having that energy and that attitude, because the one thing I do know is about the both of them is they also are generous and they do give back and they do a lot of stuff and they have a lot of hands in helping money and foundations, some public, a lot very quiet.
Right.
So for that, I'm going to give them a pass and say, if you're doing this for money, I'm just saying, it could have been like the Basquiat was just a little too obvious.
Yeah, and it's just obvious. It's lazy, and especially like I said with Jay up there, like I dreamt I was Basquiat. And it's like it's just obvious and lazy, and it has their love. We won't even have that conversation if they're the great symbol of Black love. Then God help us. But speaking of Black love, Kanye and Drake, two Black men who love each other.
I mean,
individually, they don't love each other; they love themselves.
It's like two eunuchs fighting at an orgy. It's so just
wow. I like that.
Like who, the what, the why. It's like, here's the thing about both of them.
Yeah.
I think I've always found Drake to be bland. Has he had some singles that I like? Yes, he is a single. He knows how to make a single, right? Which is pretty brilliant. That's how you sell records. That's how these days you stream a gazillion records. He's gonna give you shit that stays in your head and you want to sing over.
He makes radio friendly, right. Club friendly hip hop.
Right. Kanye, who I am not a fan of at all, and I don't really pay that much attention to his music anymore at all. At least I will give him this. I do look at him as an artist.
Yeah.
Who will take risk and take chance. It may seem nutty, but you know what? The real people who are really artists are kind of off kilter. So that part doesn't bother me. I'm just not into the cult of Kanye like everybody and sitting in listening sessions and going through 18 versions of an album. I tried to listen to this one. I got to like the fourth song. I just didn't care and I stopped.
Well, I listened for you.
Yes. And
I decided I will go on my permanent record that I really did. And I haven't listened to it. Yeah, I'm with you too. Look, Kanye is taking his personality out of it. He's infuriating as an artist because unlike Drake, and calling Drake bland is being kind. I mean, Drake is the Coldplay of fucking hip hop. Right. Actually, Coldplay is probably more interesting. Drake stands for nothing.
Right.
The girls like him because they think he's cute. He makes incredibly catchy singles. I have never listened to a Drake record. I couldn't tell you what makes Drake good. I really couldn't.
I like that. What was that song I liked? He had the one.
The Tootsie Slide.
No, I like the one that's I got my eyes on you.
Yeah, the one where he sampled
something.
Yeah, exactly.
Something.
And he samples Lauryn Hill and stuff. So I'll start with the Kanye and I'll briefly go over the Drake because I did actually listen. Okay. I mean, look, the Kanye record is, he is no longer a rapper he's no longer a rapper who's an artist. He's an artist who's a rapper. Right. And I think that we do let our knowledge of his personal shenanigans flavor, but his personal shenanigans are part of his art. As a friend of mine said, there's way too much Jesus on this record. I mean, I'm all for Jesus, but there's too much Jesus.
Jesus.
But then not his kind of Jesus. This is the Jesus of the lady on the subway. We're screaming at you where you're like, what stop are you getting off, lady? Why do they always have to be so loud? Can't you talk to me quietly about Jesus? Why do you have to scream at me about Jesus? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Leave me alone.
Don't you ever say that I care about Jesus.
I know, but I care about like Jewy Jesus. But anyway, I'm a Jesus Christ Superstar Jesus person. But
you're part of the Jews for Jesus.
No. But I just I believe in Jesus in the sense of being a revolutionary.
When I used to see them when I was young, I was always confused. And they'd be like, we're Jews for Jesus. I'm like, isn't that Catholic?
It's like being a meat-eating vegetarian. You can't have it both ways. You're either vegetarian. It's like people say, I'm a vegetarian, but I eat chicken and I eat fish. So you're not a vegetarian. I got a news for you. Just because you put an extra piece of squash on your plate does not make you a fucking vegetarian. All right, sorry.
Oh God.
Right, I'm celibate, but I have sex only with Asians. No, you're not.
At Camille's birthday party, I got clowned so bad because she was asking about my new diet. And I was like, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. And they're like, what are you ordering for dinner? I was like, I'm having the vegetable flatbread. So the waiter comes in and then Quana leans over to me and says, you want to split the ribeye? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. But I mean, getting back to Kanye real fast. I mean, it's a problematic record. It's too long, like most records. There are flashes. There are flashes of like what makes Kanye. And when Kanye hits, not makes a hit, but when he hits, there is nobody.
That's undeniable.
Yeah. But there's just too much going on.
I don't need an hour and a half album that just seems like the ramblings of
the lady on the subway.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, how about but you can tell he's the type of artist where he's not going to listen to anybody, right? And I'm sure
not at all.
So if he have somebody in his team he trusted who would let him make it tighter, maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But to me, it's just like I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it debuted number one. His records all debut number one. It'll get a lot of streams.
And it's going to, right? Because these days with streaming, everybody is going to rush to listen.
Yeah.
So you're going to get those. Yeah, you're going to get those numbers. Like you got the numbers for me from rushing to listen.
Yeah,
so I got only through 4 tracks, but that was enough to get you some streaming numbers. You know.
So, I mean, and we discussed before, to me, what was very problematic is his working with Marilyn Manson, who is so irrelevant in terms of the cultural conversation. It's like, you know, like what wasn't, I mean, he would be more relevant to use Kiss, but Marilyn Manson is credibly accused of rape and abuse. And then DaBaby, who's an asshole, who's, you know, just an immature asshole homophobe. So Kanye's sort of like the arty side, and then he and Drake are rivals. Who cares? And then Drake comes out. I couldn't even make it through 4 songs with Drake because I'm just going, who are you? You're just so amorphous and kind of. And then when I read that there's what's the word? Extrapolation. That's like it's not like a flat out sample, but it's like a sample of a sample. It's on the song TSU.
Because he's using this Ron C sample where Ron C is talking, but when he's talking faintly in the background, one of the tracks of an R. Kelly song is playing, but not his vocal. But because that music is playing, you still have to license it.
Right. And it's sort of like, I mean, Drake is being smart in terms of like preempting the possible lawsuit that would come. But I'm sorry. I think
but everybody's like, well, why did you have to use that sample? Because why was that so important to the track? Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? That you had to use that particular one when R. Kelly is currently on trial for sex trafficking.
And especially when you have an audience that is A, mainly women, and B, you've literally been wrapping yourself in the legacy of Aaliyah.
I mean that.
Yeah. So that to me is just you know, lazy.
Because people are full of shit. Amy. Yeah. Well, he's full of shit, and they're self-serving, and they're like everybody gets on a soapbox and will say a lot of shit until something really comes to their doorstep that they need, and they'll see if they can sideswipe it.
Well, what's so fun, and the cover, the Damien Hirst cover of all these women pregnant, I don't find that in light of, and I won't get in, but in light of the Texas law, really, we're going to have, this is the way you show that you're a lover man, that you've knocked up all the, what are you, fucking Nick Cannon? That's the way you show your love. You just have an army. But it's just, look, Drake is not for us. We know that. We're too old for Drake. But to me, it's like, he's hugely successful. I never have liked him. I don't hate him, but he's just sort of, he's not even inoffensive. He's nothing. He stands for nothing to me. And I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth, because he had, as nutty as Kanye is and as problematic as Kanye is, that's Kanye. That is Kanye. I mean, that, you know, if Kanye's using Marilyn Manson, it's because I think the Drake thing with the R. Kelly thing is just sloppy and lazy, and there was no reason for it. And it undercuts his entire, like you said, his entire MO. It undercuts everything. You're full of shit. If that guy is the 7th credit on the song, then you clearly didn't need him.
I mean, and then there's that.
I mean, it's like Sophie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bless her heart.
It's like, I heard Sophie all in that track. It was like, you did? You're full of shit.
Right.
It's like, you're full of shit.
Let's talk real fast about Britney, and then we'll talk about the other record that came out this week. So I know this is like the Britney thing. It's confusing because it's not as good news as you would think, from what I understand. It is kind of, and it's not kind of. So why don't you go into it?
Well, the father is petitioning to end the conservatorship.
Right.
Which is good news, which would end the conservatorship that she's been under. Yes
and no, because the father, Jamie, there is still going to be a trial, and Jamie is sort of blackmailing him, saying, well, I'll do it if you...
And that, which has been his thing the entire time.
Right. Give me $2 million and I'll walk away.
But yeah, which is crazy, because like, how much money have you gotten from your daughter already? To me, this shows you right there what it's been about, partially to me.
Yeah.
I want what's best for my daughter. So I know I've gotten millions off of her for all of these for 13 years, but it's going to cost you for me to stop overseeing her money. So I need some of that money.
Yeah, and that's
sleazy.
Just effed up. It's very sleazy.
And this is, but she's going to get, it is good news. She's going to get what she wants. And hopefully the court will see that, and he won't get that money, because it's like
it's blackmail.
One way you're like, I love my kid, and then we start to see money corrupts everybody, man. Money, it just corrupts. It's a horror. I'm not saying that she doesn't have some personal private shit, but guess what? We all do. And if she loses all her money, sometimes people lose their money.
Yeah,
she has the right to lose her money like anybody else who's earned their money. If they lose it, they lose it. You know what I mean?
I just
like you don't need a father who's been spending it and then whose whole thing now is like, well, I'll leave for a check.
Yeah,
13 years worth of checks wasn't enough.
Yeah, and she's got new legal. I mean, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean,
listen,
you know,
there's so much shit we don't know.
Yeah.
For me, I just want anybody who's grown and who can go to work to be able to make a decision about where their money goes.
And what she wants to do with her body and what she wants to do with her life. So hopefully it'll work out. And I can sleep at night knowing that it is.
I know, it's been so hard for you.
It's been so hard for me.
You've called me.
I mean, there is a bigger issue involved.
Yeah.
I mean,
the bigger issue is this always happens to women. We've seen men be knocked out drug addicts and fucked up, and we've never seen anybody come in and take over their life. But when it's women, we have numerous examples of the control of their lives being taken away from them quite easily.
Yeah. All right. So there was one other big musical news this week, and so ABBA, which is a maybe for those of you who are young, they're a struggling underground group. They never really got their due in the United States. I'm really into deep cuts ABBA. You know, I wish they had taken off, but they're just, you know, the whole idea of it. So, all right, all joking aside, ABBA is like the biggest pop band in the world, blah, blah, blah. They've sold more monies. I can't even, they sold
something like 400 million records.
Yeah, it's big. It's bigger than the national debt. That's how much money they
actually made. When people had to buy records, so they literally sold
went and bought
400 million records. Yeah,
Mamma Mia. All right, international. Change the face of pop music. Certainly, are a direct link between the Max Martins and the Chevron Swedish and Norwegian pop sound. Okay, undeniable. For reasons that I have no idea. I mean, we've all been bored during the pandemic, but Sweden didn't lock down. So they were allowed to walk around and do whatever the fuck they wanted to do. They've put out 2 new songs in anticipation of a new album in November.
Yes.
And the reviews have been the equivalent. You know, when you're talking about somebody and they're really kind of, she's really interesting. She's so nice. That looks really it looks, it shows off your eyes, you know?
Well, let's just say they have 2 new songs. I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down.
Right, which are perfect titles for the reaction these songs are getting. It's like,
I love ABBA. I think ABBA's great.
Yeah, okay. We all love ABBA. Well, not everybody, but and as I said to you,
I don't dislike the Don't Shut Me Down record. I actually kind of like the Don't Shut Me Down.
Hum a little bit of it. Exactly. Okay. The thing about ABBA, right? The thing about ABBA is that they were the definition of earworms. Okay, you heard that they were the 1-800 Cars for Kids, but better of songs. You heard it. Yeah, you're listening to it on your computer right now to sing along. All right. So the problem with these songs is first off, they just don't sound good.
With tears in my eyes. Now I'm singing knowing me, you know.
Okay, but that's ABBA from 40 years ago.
I know. It's like
they're great songs.
But that's the funny thing. The new songs, when I listen to those, it just made me go to the old songs. And then, but I love them, right? So I'm not upset that there's new music. And I don't hate the songs.
I do.
I don't love the songs.
I don't hate Here's the thing. As I said to you when we were discussing this previously, if it wasn't ABBA, would you even fucking be paying attention? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't. I mean, and that's the
Hold on. I'm trying to think.
No. And
I'm going to do one of the polite things because everything I've read has been very polite. That's when you know. That's when you know the people don't love the songs because everything's very like, oh my god, it's like giving you a history and why it's important of them coming back in the show, but not being like.
No, nobody's raving. So that's the thing. I mean, if ABBA, all joking aside, if ABBA didn't have a legacy, there is no. This is the equivalent of Michael Jordan coming back and then fucking up. If you are the best, stop. They don't need the money.
They don't need the money.
They don't really sound great. They have their legacy, whether you like them or not. Their legacy is undeniable.
It's undeniable.
It's undeniable. So Absolutely. These are just kind of like you're bored, Benny or Bjorn or whatever your name is. Mm-hmm. It's just they're just kind of yeah. They're the equivalent of like, wow, she's really interesting.
And then it was like, the trick of them being like, and we're going on tour, a new tour. I was like, oh my God, they're going on the road. Wait.
Yeah.
So they're building a new arena in London, which the pre-sales are already through the roof for a show that starts in May, which is a Avatar sort of immersive experience show with
like a hologram kind of thing or something like that.
So we'll see when it debuts next year. They've already recorded the show.
Them in their 70s, though. So this entire thing is a money grab trading on nostalgia. Just say it like that.
But if it's great, new songs are in, new music is in the show. So if it's a great new immersive experience, it could be pretty fabulous, right? So we'll see.
I don't want an immersive experience. I want a concert.
Mm-hmm.
If I want an immersive experience, I stop it. Just because you have the technology doesn't mean you should use it.
Well, I'm going to save all reservations till I see it because I'm like you. I definitely was thinking, oh my God, they're going to come to New York. I'll get to see them in person. No, you have to go to London and to see the hologrammy Avatar.
Absolutely no interest in seeing London. I mean, they wrote great songs. There's about 4 songs of theirs.
I'm so jealous because Miguel saw them live in concert.
When? What year?
In the 77, the Voulez-Vous tour.
That's when you see them.
City.
Yeah,
I didn't see him because my mother wasn't really a fan.
There are many bands that I wish I had seen. ABBA, I'm sure they're great. Whatever, I'll watch Mamma Mia. All right. Do you want to sort of talk about some of the stuff we are checking for, as the kids say?
We are checking for. I've just been sort of. The interesting thing, don't you want to talk about the Halsey record, right? Which I know you really love her.
No. I don't really love her. I like her a lot. I find her interesting. I really do. And we joke around about like,
because I'm always like, what's a Halsey? Right.
Right. I find her interesting because she has managed, first off, the sound of her voice is interesting. She doesn't have that gulping, breathy vocal. She's actually kind of singing, which is nice. But I find her interesting because she got started sort of as with the Chainsmokers and kind of like as a featured artist. Mm-hmm. And her songs are she kind of skirts around a lot of genres, and it's smart pop music. It's kind of like, but this album, it's called If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. And had not Kanye and Drake sort of taken the attention off everything, I think that this would have been the album. She's working with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails. Atticus Ross is the guy that does soundtrack work with Trent Reznor, and they do great soundtracks. My issues with Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah, their scores are really amazing.
Fantastic.
They've been scoring they scored Soul. They won an Oscar.
Yeah. So my issues with Trent Reznor are just I'm not a big fan of industrial music, but he's a
super talented guy though.
He's no. Yeah. And this is a rock record.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that some artists, they would do a rock record and you'd go, she's faking it. She's up there pretending to do. This is a really powerful, very feminist in a lot of ways record. And it's really worth a listen. I mean, I listened to it and I was like, I believe, I want believability with artists. One of the reasons I love Mary J. Blige, and a lot of people love Mary J. Blige, is she technically the best singer? No, she's not technically. No, but I believe her. I believe her.
You believe the words that are coming out of her mouth, no matter what she's singing. You believe her.
And I just think this record, especially because I think Halsey is someone who people like, but she's seen as sort of being a pop girl, which nothing wrong with that. But it's a really good record. So I do recommend If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. And then so this is on a totally different end. I'm going to fuck up the pronunciation of her name. Aruj Aftab. She's, I believe, Pakistani or Southeast Asian artist. Her album is called Vulture Prince. It's been out for a couple of months, but I just got hip to it because a friend of mine turned me on to her. It's beautiful voice, very reminiscent of the great women singers of that region, sort of moody, very kind of bluesy, kind of torchy. She sings, I believe, in Urdu and some of it. It's just an interesting record. And it's not like I'm the first one to discover. I mean, the Pitchfork kids are all over it and stuff like that.
Right.
But it is really good. And then I'm really kind of loving the Charlie XCX single, Good Ones. And she's another one of those smart pop girls, you know?
She's, to me, I put her in the slot with like the Robins and the Carly Rae Jepsons, the ones who really should have more love here. You know what I mean? That are making really smart, good, cool ass, kick ass music,
And the thing with Carly Rae, thing with Charlie is that she's also a great songwriter. Yeah. So, I mean, she is capable of writing hits for other people. So, those are kind of the three things I'm kind of checking for right now. What do you
My shit is just all old, because none of the new shit, like I've listened to a bunch of things, all of the new singles coming out, but nothing's really stuck with me to be like, this needs to be on repeat. There's a couple of things coming this week. I'm excited to hear the Casey Musgraves album. I'm excited to hear the new Steps album, What the Future Holds, Part 2. But I've been kind of, rearranging some of my vinyl stuff. And I started pulling together all my different Jocelyn Brown records and giving her her own section. And it's really made me have a new appreciation for her voice again, and realizing, how many times she's been a featured vocalist on songs that we love, like, Inner Life, Caught Up in a One Night Love Affair. I'm caught up in a one night love. That's her vocal. Push in the Bush. By
so sort of like a Martha Wash kind of thing.
That's her vocal. Then she had the songs on Warner Brothers, Egomaniac and Love's Gonna Get You, Baby, I'm Gonna Get You, Yes. And somebody else has got just so many records. Her work with New Yorican Soul and I'm the Black Gold of the Sun, and just really finding a new appreciation for her voice, and started making me dig into just all of her work. And I feel like she's a very undersung woman who has really sang so many songs that mean something to me for a lot of my life, and songs that still resonate. And she's almost like a voice that people know, but they don't know her.
they're almost like, she's almost like in those women like Lolita Holloway. And, first off, dance music was dismissed, but also they're sort of like the equivalent in some ways of the Darlene Loves or the jingle.
Absolutely.
The jingle singers who you were like, I love that voice. I love that voice. Who is that woman? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, just been having a new appreciation to her. And for some reason, I have been listening to like the first 5 albums in Dionne Warwick's career, those early Scepter albums, and they're so good. It's just her voice. Just, I'm back into really paying attention to vocals. I've also been listening to a lot of Aretha's Columbia records.
Yeah, and very different. Different. Yeah.
But that her voice she was so young. It was just so strong and pure and beautiful. You know what I mean? So I've been kind of falling into that sort of period of listening to vocalists and great songwriting and just having that kind of moment.
Yeah, I think we're transitioning now a little bit into fall. So, it'll see. So we're coming out of the summer. It'll be interesting to see, I guess, the big record this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week. It'll be Casey Musgrave, who MTV is now suddenly playing all her videos when she was like a little country artist. So we can talk about that next week. The whole sort of how they are totally fucking repackaging that chick. Yeah. I mean, which is not a negative. I'm just saying they're totally repackaging that girl.
And you see in the video, like she's smoking a blunt in the car because it's part of this little mini movie thing. And it kind of goes, so like, she's definitely skirting that line of like that Taylor line of I'm going for the big pop stadium.
Well, except that Casey Musgrave has always been a much edgier artist than Taylor Swift. And then maybe next week we talk about like, gee Lord, that was quick. That album came out and it's gone. Poor Lord, she can't buy a break. But the VMAs are this weekend, so we will watch those, right? We'll watch those the way we listen to the Kanye record. Right. we'll jump in and out. All right, Courtney, give the tag because that's what you do so well.
I just want to send another RIP because I just got a notification that Jerry Blair, who used to be the head of promotion when I worked at Columbia before Charlie Walk took over, passed away.
Oh, okay. Sorry to hear that.
So R.I.P. Jerry,
Sorry. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's just, that's the end of an era. In promotion, he was very known. He was a big promotion guy in the 90s and the early aughts. So, a lot of, promotion doesn't change that much. Those promotion teams and promotion departments. So a lot of people knew Jerry. So I just want to sort of send my condolences out to his wife and to his family and his children.
And also just briefly mention that the DJ and writer Phil Schaap died this morning too. Jazz jazz writer. I mean, it's sad when people die, except if they're the governor of Texas. I mean, if he were to die, I really wouldn't care. But that's a whole nother conversation, isn't it?
No.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, guys, you know the deal. You know where to find us. We're part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. And we hope you check them out because we're on the main page, as well as over 70 plus shows, man. Any kind of music you like, there's a show for it. There's some shows like us that are freeform, but there are a lot of scripted shows that really go into deep dives and different subjects and people from every aspect of music, every genre of music. So check us out there. Then, you can check us out because you're listening to us. We're everywhere. iHeart, Google, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, we're there. And I want you guys to also keep up with us on Facebook and our Facebook page. I'm gonna let you finish, all one word. We're on Instagram at I'm gonna let you finish NY. We're on Twitter at FinishIma. And we love to hear from you. We talk to you guys a lot on Facebook. You're really active on our page. Thank you for that. Tell a friend about the show. Remember, when you listen to us, wherever you listen to us, remember to go in there, leave a review, rate us, write it down, tell a friend, spin it out, and we will see you next week.
Stay safe, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.